For anybody that went in to log in as a teacher, you noticed our new login screen probably right away. And so one of the people registered was Maria here. So I won't be using her account, just her username. And so you can see what the new system looks like. For those of you that didn't click on this, you'll see the overview that I was showing earlier. And so you'll be able to click on that and it'll give you an overview of everything you're seeing. But when you get to this new login screen, you can log in with your same exact username and password. If you did forget your password, before you'd have to go through customer service to get that. Now you can just click on this forgot password link. You'll enter your username, and then you'll be able to receive a password reset link. So you can change that to anything you want. You can still, of course, call into customer service and we can help you, but it does give you that option. If you want to change your password right away, you can do that. So now we're going to log in. And the very first thing you'll see is we used to, mash together the teacher and the admin accounts. So for those of you that are admins at your site, it was really hard to distinguish between a teacher and an admin account because they look so similar and they had some very similar functionality. But now we have roles. And so what you'll see here is in this drop down, if you are an admin, you'll have that organization admin role. And then you also keep your teacher role, so you can still do everything that a teacher does, but you'll have the reporting and the power of an admin by choosing that role. It'll be a completely different screen. So to get started, what we'll do is we're going to take a look at the teacher role. That makes up about 90% of our users, and then we'll get into the admin functionality, and we'll be able to cover some of that. So as a teacher, the first thing you're going to notice when you log in here is that everything's built around classes. So before you were just hit with those 5 blue tabs, students, courses, classes, teachers, and reports, and everything was in one cluttered spot. Things have been organized a lot more now. So when you log in, the very first thing you're going to see are your classes. You have 2 tabs here, so classes and reports. We'll cover reports later, but since the first screen you see is classes, we're going to get started here. You can create new classes by just clicking this add class. You'll name your class. You can upload an image if you want to help you organize things. If not, we're going to randomly assign one of these preloaded images here, and then you'll be able to populate your class with students. So this is the classes screen, the first thing you'll see when you log in. So here we can click on a demo class, and this one has our students preloaded. And so this is going to be what you used to see in the students or courses tab, and that's going to be a roster of your students, the courses they're enrolled in, and a general overview of their activity. So from classes, we click on the class, and now we get into our students here. Now, if this was a brand new class, the class would have been empty. And so one of the biggest upgrades that we did was your student onboarding. And so for those of you that would like to add new students to your class, you'll be able to do that with this add student button. So the first option is going to be you can add an existing student. So if this student is already at your site, you can just find them in the list here. You can sort them by grade. If you don't want to look at students that aren't on a current license, you can filter and only look at the active students. And then once you've done that, you can select the students and add them to your class. Now, one thing you'll see here on this screen that's also in all of our other screens is in the old system, if you were going to go here and add students to your class, there was an add button, and you'd have to do that for each individual student. So if there were 100 students, you were doing it 100 times, and it took a long time to populate a class. Now, you can do multi-checks here, or of course, you can select an entire group. So let's say, you're filtering down and you know that in your, morning on Monday, Wednesday class, all the students that you want to now move to your Saturday class are there. You can just search your classes and say, okay, they're in, 12 LMS demo. That'll only show the students in that class. You can just select them all or select a few. And then when you click add students, all of those students will be added to this new class you've created. So that's going to be to add an existing student to a class. in the old system, that was that button that said add enrolled. And so this is a much improved system. It's going to make your life a lot easier, and it'll be much quicker to find the right student and then add them to your class. Now, if the student doesn't currently have a Learning Upgrade account, or you're not sure if they do, you can click to add a new student. And this is going to be the student onboarding, the 3 options for student onboarding. So the very first option is going to be to invite a student. This used to be that button that said self-enroll. So if you wanted your students to self-enroll into this specific class, you'll click on invite student. Then you're going to generate a code. So that class code has now been generated. And then you can download your guide. And this has all of the updated screens for the new app. You can choose a language. If you want to choose a different language, you're free to do so. If there's any other languages that you feel like you need, your site has a high demand, let us know. With this new system, it's much easier to localize these onboarding guides. And then once you've created this self-enrollment guide, what you can do is export to PDF or print. So this is another big addition, is for all of our reports and all of these guides, we have one-click buttons. So before, we would just have the print button, and then you would have to, in your settings, save it as a PDF. Now you can export it to a PDF right away. You can print it right away. And then you'll see for our reports, we have a one-click button that will export all of our reports to Excel spreadsheets. And it looks like we have a question here. And for those of you raising your hand, if you could just put your questions in the chat for now, and then I'm going to circle back to those in a bit. Okay, so that's for those of you that are looking to have your students self-enroll. So we can go back now. That was option number 1. Option number 2 is if you want to upload student information. This is probably the biggest improvement of any of the onboarding. And so before, if you remember, you would have to copy and paste from a spreadsheet. And then if you copy and pasted from that spreadsheet, then you would see the enrollment and then click go. Now we're going to provide you with a template. So with this template, you'll have all the headers that you'll need, the column headers that you'll need, and then you can get that uploaded. And so what you'll be able to do is search for a spreadsheet that you filled out. And I'll try to find mine here. There we go. And then once your student's uploaded, if you have students, you'll actually see the names here in the table. And then what you'll be able to do is select your courses for them. So you can do multiple courses. You'll be able to make edits or revisions when you're uploading. And from there, that's how you get your students onboarded. So that's the upload. And then the third uploading option is going to be to create a new student account. And that's if you just wanted to create a student account on the fly. You'll be able to type their name in, create their username, password, assign a grade. The nice thing is now you can also see the license information here. So while you're creating the student account, you know exactly how many seats you have left. And then here, you'll be able to assign the courses. So however many courses you need, most are just doing English and math place. And then you can add that student to your class. Then you'll be able to provide them with their login information. So those are the 3 onboarding options for new students. The fourth one, of course, is to add an existing student. So all of that functionality was there in the old one, just not in this well organized a format. So now with this one button, you can do this all. You click add student, you're either adding an existing or you can choose those 3 options for adding new students. So that's going to be everything you need to get students into your class. So if there's any questions on student onboarding or anything for creating a class, getting students enrolled, again, feel free to add that into the chat, and I'd be more than happy to get those questions answered when we circle back. So once you have your classes filled with students, you provided everything you need to the system. Now your goal as a teacher is always, how do I get my students logged in? And so this is another huge improvement on our old one. In our old one, you just had one option. You had to click that print passwords button and all of your students would be there, regardless of whether you needed all of their account information or not. And so now the new feature that we've added is what we're calling actions. So you'll see here this gray button that says perform action. And there's going to be, a few options that you have, but the first one is going to be printing the student account information. So just like with adding enrolled, we've added the ability to select all of these students, or you can just do a few. But in this case, let's say it's a brand new class, so we'll select everybody. And then you'll see the perform action goes from light gray, we can hover over, we get the dark gray, and now we get our 4 options. So with this class created, maybe I didn't add the courses I wanted, maybe I added too many courses, maybe I just want to see how they're doing. But the first thing you'll do to get them enrolled is going to be to get their class usernames and passwords. So when we click on that, we'll have 2 options. We can do a password list, or we can do a student per page. So if you're going to be actually providing this to your students, do that 1 per page. You can choose your language, and then you're going to get these handy 1-page guides for each one of your students. It'll have all the instructions to walk them through exactly how to get started. Again, you can export to PDF or print, so you'll have that option available to you. And then you can also toggle into other languages to provide that to students, your ESL students that would need the guide in their first language. Some other options we have here, of course, is we can assign courses. So in most cases, what we're finding most of our sites doing now is just enrolling students in English place and math place. But if maybe that is the initial, and now we want to add some of our skill courses, or maybe these were students you had last year and you just saw that we released our new GED reading. Then you can say, okay, let's get digital literacy and GED reading for all of our students. We'll assign that course, we'll activate it, and now all of our students are enrolled in those courses. So that's a powerful tool. You did not have the ability to do this in the old system, but now for those of you that want to do these global class actions of printing passwords, adding courses, or removing courses, you can do so. Now, the last thing I'll cover for actions is another brand new one, and that's going to be the report card. And so the student report card is brand new. We didn't have this, but what it's going to be is a snapshot of how your students are doing. So here, let's say I'm going to be meeting with these students, or maybe I'm at a library with tutors and I'm going to have my tutors meeting with these students. I want to see how they're doing before I meet. We can take a look at the report cards. And so we'll go to perform action. Now we're going to print report cards. And here we'll get a snapshot of how each one of our students are doing. So we'll see the date they started, if they have a last play date, lessons completed. And so for those that start, completing a large number of hours, or maybe they haven't logged in a while, this is going to be the best way to see all that. So this can be done for an entire class or for an individual student. But again, that's going to be another one of the options here in the perform actions. So those are going to be the global class actions. You can also do those for individual students. So in this top row here, for our demo student, you'll see this menu. And what you can do is find all the global actions, but for the individual. So if you just want a report card, print their password, assign a course, remove a course, or remove them from class, that can be done here. Now, what if you want to free up license space? You see I have 120 students and I only have 21 seats left. In our old system, there was like 50 buttons on the screen. Those buttons are fortunately gone. And now you just have a simple activity toggle here. So they're either active on a license or they're not. So the student at the bottom here, maybe they left the program. All you need to do is deactivate the account. And now they are no longer on the license. And now you have 22 seats available instead of 21. Of course, if that student ever comes back to the program, we're not deleting their activity. You can just make them active again. They'll be able to log in and they'll be able to pick up right where they left off. And so those are going to be the actions there. You'll also see that we have these individual report buttons as well as an edit button. So if you need to edit a student account information for any reason, that's there. But you can also access the student's activity log. So you can see every single session they're logging, the courses that they're using, the lesson that they worked on, the exact date, their score, and then the time on task. And so you'll be able to see that for all student activity. You can do a one-click export to Excel. So if you'd like to pull that into a spreadsheet or print that out, you'll have the option to do that. And then for those of you in the reports that are used to seeing the student monitor, before you could only view that for an entire class. Now we give you a student monitor for every student. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the student monitor, this is going to show every single course that the student is enrolled in. Every Learning Upgrade course has 60 lessons, so you'll see that from left to right. And then as the student completes these lessons, you're going to see the score that they get. So in our system, a 75 to an 89 is going to be a bronze. So you'll see that here up to 90. Then that 91 to 95 will be a silver. And then that 96 to 100 will be a gold. So you can very quickly see for English 1, the student got a bronze, gold, bronze. And as they progress through to this final lesson 60, you'll be able to track and monitor all that progress with individual student monitors. So all of that will be available to you here in the student details screen for every single one of your classes. So that's just a quick overview of this screen here. Now, from this screen, you can also view individual student details. So for this top student, we can click on them. And this is another new feature that wasn't available in the old LMS, is here we can see all of the student details. Of course, this is a demo, so we've removed it here. But what you'll be able to do is make any edits you need, of course. You can do a one-click to view the report card, but more importantly, you can get even more detailed information on the courses that the students are in. So before we looked at that very detailed student log, and that was for all of their courses, but maybe you're the ESL instructor or just an English teacher, GED instructor, your focus is math, and that's all you care about. You can view those for individual courses as well. So we'll see here, English Upgrade 1, and then we can pull up this individual activity log that'll break it down just for English 1. And now you can do that for every single course. This is also, the functionality that you used to have in the old courses tab. So if you do want to make any courses inactive or active, you have the ability to do that here. And then one of the coolest new features is, we always had teachers wanting to assign students or move a student ahead in a course. And you used to have to do that blindly, where you would just type in a number or you would have to refer to one of our PDF lesson lists. Now, when you click the edit button for a course, you'll see every single lesson in here. So if they're on English Upgrade 1 and I want them working on short vowels, you can see that any single lesson you want. So here, let's move the student to point of view, and then we can just update that lesson. And now the next time the student logs in, they're going to be working on point of view instead of the lesson that they were on. So that's a nice feature for those of you that want to assign a lesson, have a student work on a certain topic, or if you have tutors at your library or learning center, and you know that they want to work on a specific topic for that day, that's going to be how they can do that. You'll also have a graph down here that'll show the students' activity. And so you'll be able to see their total hours, math hours, and English hours. So here for the demo, there's just 2 dates of data to make it straightforward. But when you hover over the graph, you'll be able to see how much activity they've logged for each day. So total hours, 4.6, English hours, 4.2, and then math, that's the smallest one. You'll see here that they'll each have their different guides. So, 5 hours versus 0.5 hours. So we had to keep those on different, just so that if we, kept everything on a standard 5, you wouldn't be able to see the math. It'd just be a little dribble at the bottom. But if you do want to focus in on something like that, you can always deactivate that. So you can take away math, you can take away totals. I'm the English teacher, just give me the English, and then I'll be able to see that. So that's going to be there for every single one of your students. You'll have a student detail screen, and that'll be there for you to see. Again, if you have any questions on that, feel free to add it to the chat. I see that we have a few here that I'll answer now. So Karen's is there a way to quickly make multiple inactive students active? So great question, Karen. So that's not going to be a teacher functionality. Teachers will do that one at a time here in the classes. That'll be an admin functionality. So admins will be the ones that have the power to do that globally, where they can, make multiple students active, inactive. And again, admin functionality is going to be in this new role dropdown. So as an org admin, we'll make things like that available. But for teachers, they'll be able to make students active, inactive one at a time in their classes. And then from Mary, can lessons within a course be assigned to a class or only via individual students? So that's a great question, Mary. So right now it's going to be individually, but one of the features we're looking at that we want to have for early 2022 is that ability to assign lessons to a class, and then to have some way to have some kind of notification in the student app to let them know that that lesson has been assigned. So that's not something that's available with this initial launch, but definitely something that we have on our calendar of features that we'd like to get added. And then at the top here, I have from Sheila, I think my question might be related to the admin teacher roles. How do I move a student from my class to another class that I have set up? And so that was the one that I covered a little bit earlier, is you want to add an existing student. So what you would do is you'd click add an existing student to class. So if they're in one of your other classes, you can just search for that class here. So if they're in your 13 LMS demo, you would just select that, you would apply the filter, and then it would show all of your students from that 13 LMS demo, and then you would just click to add them from here. So yeah, if a student is already in one of your classes, you can find them in the class search here. If they're not, just search for them by name, and if they're at your site, they'll pop up in the search window, and then you'll be able to add them. And so you can do that for any of your students. And so I think that's all the questions for now. Great questions. And if there's any others, again, feel free to leave those in the chat. And then after I cover the reports and the admin, we can open it up and you'll be able to unmute yourself. So a lot of teachers, for their day-to-day, what they're going to want to do is view the reports. And so what we see here is a brand new dashboard, which gives you, very clear and actionable data right away. You'll be able to see total students, active students, and total hours. So those are great indicators just to see how active is your license. 467, only 98 are active. Let's work on getting that other group active. Once you get below there, just like you saw for the individual student, you're going to get data now for your entire group of students. And that's going to go back 1 month. And so you can track over time. So we'll see here, we're looking pretty good. The activity is pretty steady. We have a few days where it drops, but on the whole, this is a good looking month outside of September 4th through 6th. That was right around Labor Day though. So, hey, when you're around a holiday, you expect that activity to drop a little, no problem. But once the students got back into school, everything is looking good. If you want to zoom in, you can do that just by using your sliders here. So you can take a closer look at the data and then hover over and see. So we'll see, like most of our sites, English will make up the majority of that activity. And again, just like the students, if you want to toggle off the math for a clearer view, you can take the total and math out and just see how much time on task. So this is pretty good. For our demo, we're seeing over 30 hours of time on task for our group pretty much every day. And so this is available to every single one of our teachers. You'll have this updated dashboard, and it'll give you a very quick look at how all of your students are performing. Now, before I cover these 5 reports, I'll just scroll down to the bottom. You also have a progress summary. So if you want to get more detailed data, here we have just the quick dashboard, which is hours. But if you want more detailed info at the very bottom, that's where you'll get that. So you'll not only see the hours, but you'll see the breakdown of reading. That's going to be our English, reading, and comp course. Math, that's our math, algebra, pre-algebra, our prep courses, which is our GED and HiSET, our skills, which is digital literacy, and then our for 2022, our new courses that we're working on, which is citizenship, financial literacy, and life skills. You'll also get a chance to see the breakdown for devices, so iOS, Android, web. For those of you that have asked us to turn on to track the class in versus out, you'll see those. If you don't ask us, those will be 0, and then the total number of lessons and certificates. These reports, this is the tried and true stuff that everyone knows and loves. So these reports have not changed in function, but the feature set is much better. So you'll have cleaner filters here. You'll be able to search by class. You'll be able to enter your time of day, grade, filter it down that way. And then once you filtered your report for the data that you're interested in, you'll have these one-click buttons to export to Excel and then instantly get a spreadsheet. And so it's the same data as before. It's just much easier to get the filter set up and then much easier to export that data for your use later. Once you have your filter set, if you just want to see it in view here, you can always shrink that advanced search and give yourself a little more space here on the screen. But this will be reports for every single one. So I think most of you use Student Monitor and then Student Progress Report. Those are our most popular. One request that I had is maybe just to explain when and why you use each report. So starting at the top, the Student Monitor report, this is going to be the report that you'll want to use to track and monitor student progress in real time. So I mentioned earlier that every single student has the Student Monitor. You can access that from the students page in your class. But this is a great way to see which courses your students are enrolled in and how they're progressing right now. So if you just want to see, okay, this student here, English 1, they got started and they're making great progress. This student here has a bronze certificate, they're making great progress. Others, maybe I assigned it to them recently, and then you can see how much activity. And then others, hey, there's no activity. I can see that right away. So the Student Monitor, that's what we recommend for teachers to open up daily and to see exactly how their students are doing in real time. The Student Progress Report is going to be a table-based look at the Student Monitor. So if you want to see a lot of the data that you see in Student Monitor, but in a table format with numbers that you can export to Excel, this is another one to see time on task right now or for whatever the parameters that you have set. So I'd say 80% of the time, these are going to be the reports you're using. In tandem, you're going to want to see your student time report. So that one steps away from the big picture, and this one is going to be the micro. So, okay, I know my students are spending a lot of time, they're completing lessons, but when are they spending the time? How are they spending the time? So the student time report gives you this session data, the start and end of every session, the exact time, the lessons they're working on, and the device that they worked on it. And so that's when you're going to want to use the student time report. The pacing report, that's going to be for those of you that want to set a goal, and so let's say your students came in the fall, and now you say, that's today, I'm getting my students enrolled. Then you can set a completion date. Okay, I want all of my students on December 13 to take the CASAS test and get an assessment, whatever your goals are. The student pacing report will take a look at all of your student activity once you put your dates in, and then it'll tell you how much time on task they're going to need to finish each one of their Learning Upgrade courses. So that's the pacing report. Then the final one is the class in versus out. And again, this is going to be for those of you that ask us to turn on the in versus out tracking. It's not something we do by default, but for those that would like this turned on, we can turn it on. And then when your students log into the app, we'll ask them to select if it's in versus out, and you can get data on that. So that's the initial 5 reports, the 5 most used reports from our old LMS. And we will be adding more reports. If there's reports you'd like to see that would make your life easier, better, let us know. Yeah, we'll be definitely taking a look at being able to add some more of these in the months ahead. So that's everything on the teacher role. If you have any additional questions there, again, feel free to enter them into the chat. And if not, I will do a brief overview of the admin. But I see a question here from Gwen Strain. So I sometimes have to have a student in 2 different math classes, how can I see both math classes at the same time for my students in a class? So, I mean, if you wanted to view both classes at the same time, you'd have to have 2 separate tabs open. You know, if you're in one tab, you're only going to be able to have one class open at one time. So here you have all of your classes, and so you'd be able to open up that class. And so if you had to, for whatever reason, go between 2 of them quickly, you could open up another tab and do the same thing and open that one up. But otherwise, you would just have to go back to classes here and then view that other class. And then, you know, no problem having the same student in 2 classes. That's, you know, you can have one individual student in as many classes as you need. But 2 different math classes, yeah, you know, that's okay for a student to be in those. And so that looks like all of the questions here. So now I'm going to go from teacher to admin. And so this is going to be, you know, another huge upgrade for those of you that are used to using the old admin system. But for an admin, now you can see for your entire site, you'll get a similar dashboard to what the teacher sees just for their classes. But as the admin, you'll get that top-down look. I want to see how my entire license is being used. And so when you log in here, you'll be able to see that with your dashboard. The reports that I was just covering for the individual teachers, you'll have access to all of those, but those again are going to be site-wide. So every single one of the teachers at your site will be included there, but the same features and functionality. You'll be able to see the most active classes. You'll be able to see the teachers at your site and how many classes they have active here. So if you're a director, a coordinator that's tracking, you know, multiple teachers at a site, or for someone that's maybe tracking multiple sites, then you'll be able to see that here on your dashboard. You'll also be able to track licenses. And so I believe my good friend Lisa is here. I think I saw her join, but this is going to be a welcome addition there for Palm Beach. And so what you'll see here is all the licenses at your site with the limits. So you'll be able to view those in real time. And then, you know, again, as I mentioned earlier, we also have the ability for this trickle down license. So before, the schools were silos, every single license applied directly to that school. But now if you are, you know, a top level organization, if you're a district or a state, and you have 12 schools beneath you, we can assign a license just to that district, and the schools beneath the district will have access to that allotment. So for those of you that have questions on that, we can get into more detail there. But thanks for chiming in the chat there, Lisa. Doing, you know, your input was priceless. You really helped guide us on a lot of this. And so I really appreciate the feedback. And for the other teachers and admins on the call here, again, if there's things you'd like to see, reports, you know, we're open ears, so feel free. You can always reach out to me, drew@learningupgrade.com, because, you know, it's really helped us, and I hope that the changes we have made here will really help you. And so that'll be a huge plus for those of you managing multiple licenses. Same with organizations here. So for these organization and schools tabs, we'll have a lot more coming. But this is where you'll be able to log in, Lisa, and see all of the sites at Palm Beach, a list of all of the schools, a list of the classes, and things like that. And so, yeah, we'll set up a one-on-one for Palm Beach. And once all of this for the organization and school stuff is live, we'll be able to help get set up there. So the next tab is going to be teachers. And so for teachers, this is where you're going to be able to track and monitor every teacher account that's at your site. And so, you know, what you can quickly do here is, of course, log in without seeing passwords. So we keep the password secure, but you can just click this login button. And if you want to view what their class is like, or, you know, maybe you're more of a tech admin, not a coordinator type admin, and you're the one that's responsible for getting students enrolled into different classes, you'll be able to do that there. And then you'll also be able to edit teacher account information. And then for Karen's question, so this is an important one. So Drew, can you show how to make the inactive students active from this view? And so it won't be from this view, it'll be from students. And so this one's not live for launch this week, but this is top of the list for things to get live soon. And so all of that's going to be here in the Students tab. And so all of the actions that I was showing that you could do globally for a class, and so those perform actions, adding courses, removing courses, all of that is going to be available here, but for the site. So you'll see at the top here, you'll be able to filter students by school, organization, classes, and then status. And so the way it'll work, Karen, is in this top one, under status. So you're saying, can you show how to make inactive students active? You would filter for inactive. And then once you filter for inactive, you'd get a list of the inactive students. And then from there, you could either select all, or you'll be able to click the, that mark button for the ones that you want active, and then click to perform the action to make them active. And so there'll be, some other functionality here. So you'll have these actions, you'll be able to filter. And so, hoping to have that, getting working on that one early next week. And then I'll reach out to you, Karen, and probably Lisa as well. I know that was one you were asking for early this week, and then I can give you a time frame on when that'll be live. But great question, thank you for that. And so that'll all be in Students. And then for reports, this is going to be very similar to what you saw with the teacher's role, but again, it's going to be that top-down view. So all of the teachers at your site will be included in these reports. And then again, these are the 5 initial reports that we're going live with, but there will be additional reports being added in the months ahead that will help, really crystallize the data and give you a better look at your students, your classes, your teachers, and your site.